Well, to get some further insight on this topic, let's cross live to our guest, Mr. Jon Gaunt, a host for Talk to Me Radio. Mr. Gaunt, lovely to have you on the programme. It's good to see you. Now, Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister of Scotland, has commented on the ruling already. Let's just remind ourselves and our viewers of what she had to say.
Looking at the judgment very carefully, and yes, we will actively consider whether or not there is a case for the Scottish Government to become participants in that case. The judgment this morning underlines the total chaos and confusion at the heart of the UK Government.
So, John, what do you think? Does the British Prime Minister have a strategy for Brexit?
Well, no, I don't think she has, actually, and I think that's the problem. But I think the fault for all of this nonsense lies with the previous Prime Minister, David Cameron. He should have anticipated that. All this idea of what does Brexit mean, the British public, all 17.4 million of them who voted to leave the EU, they knew what it meant entirely. Cameron was the coward. Cameron said he'd pull the lever on Article 50 the day after the referendum. What he did instead was basically resign because he had lost. That's why we're in this mess. But even before the referendum, they should have defined what Brexit was. They were the government of the day. So now we're going to have this saga where it's going to be dragged out. And your reporter is right. There are so many MPs across the parties who don't actually want Brexit. However, they asked the British public what they wanted in the biggest democratic exercise in over 50 years. And overwhelmingly, the British public said they wanted Brexit and they wanted to get out of the EU. Which part of Brexit don't they understand? It was a clear signal that the people want out. If the politicians now stop this, or the lawmakers, I think there'll be riots on the streets. This was an affront to democracy, and this is a day that Britain should be totally ashamed of. And of course, the ultimate irony, the two people who have brought this case are not even British.
Well, Downing Street has said it's going to appeal the decision. As Theresa May has said again and again, Brexit means Brexit. Do you think there's a chance that the outcome will be any different?
No, absolutely not. The lawyers have got their tails up. When this goes to the Supreme Court, it's my confident prediction, the Supreme Court will uphold this. It's an unholy mess. It's going to delay things forever. It's going to lead to a lot of distrust and a lot of disenchantment with mainstream politicians. Let's have a look at what Brexit was. It was a victory for Nigel Farage and the people who wanted out. But it wasn't just a victory against the political class or the government of the day. It was against the whole establishment. The whole of the controlled mainstream media wanted to stay in the EU. We had scare story after scare story. But the British people, the workers of Britain, said, no, we want out. And I don't think they're going to take this lying down. And I think the Supreme Court will say, it's OK, this is the position. However, then it's down to our MPs whether they vote and whether they vote with their constituents and indeed are an elected House of Lords. But this is going to lead to more distrust of politicians. And politicians are held in such low esteem at the moment in our country, it'll only make things worse. This is a really bad day for democracy for the United Kingdom.
Jon Gaunt, I'm afraid that's all we have time for, but always a pleasure to have you on the programme. Thanks again. Mr. Jon Gaunt, host for Talk to Me Radio.
Thank you.